Recording is on.
Okay. All right. So, I guess we can go ahead and get started. It's 4 o'clock p.m. My name is Jasmine Baylor. I'm the Adult Services and Technology Librarian for the Davie County Public Library. I am virtually here today with Miss Leslie Speas, who is from the resource and will be presenting today on resume building. And I'm going to go ahead and let her take the floor. So,
Okay, well, hello, everyone. As she said, I'm Leslie Speas. I'm with The Resource. The Resource is a career services and human capital solutions company. We actually have an office in the Knoxville area. If you're seeking a position, we may be able to help you, so please reach out. The topic today is on developing a rockin' resume. Okay, go ahead and advance. So as you begin a job search, it's going to be very important to prepare a powerful resume that's going to get you noticed. So we'll talk about how to do that as we go through the slides today. If you can move to the next one, Jasmine. So on average, how much time do you think people will spend reviewing your resume? Consider that for a minute. 6 seconds. So that's kind of depressing, right? And what that means is, in the first 6 seconds, they're going to decide whether to really look at it further or to just go ahead and move along. So you need to definitely catch their attention. When hiring managers of top companies were asked what they look for in a resume, here's what they said. So first, a match for the job. So do you have the relevant skills and experiences on your resume for the job? Communication skills. Is it clear, concise, and professional? Does it tell your story? And high quality. Is it well organized and formatted? Is it grammatically correct and typo free? So we're going to go through some resume do's. So you want to definitely include your name and contact information at the top. And at a minimum, I would include your city, state, your telephone number, and your email address. Put the most important information in the top half of your resume, because as we said, the initial look is only going to be 6 seconds. Keep your resume to one page if possible. So I know for folks that are more seasoned like myself, that's difficult. If you need to go more than one page, 2 pages is fine. I wouldn't go beyond that though. Use font sizes between 10 and 12. Use boldface and or capital letters for section headings. Use standard clear typefaces. So some of those that are suggested are Arial, Times New Roman, Helvetica, and Calibri. Use bullets where appropriate, and you preferably want to just include 1 sentence per bullet. Write your resume in the third person. Don't use I. Be specific with results and use action words and phrases, and we'll talk more about that. And use spell check and review grammar before you go live with your resume. And last but not least, be honest, because if you're not, it will probably come to light later in the process. So here's just a couple of examples of resumes that are pretty clear and well formatted. So you'll see here Chris Finch, he's an electrician, and you'll see how he's kind of laid things out and used bullets and headings and font and those things that we talked about. And here's just another example of a resume that was pretty well done in formatting and layout and everything. And another. And there's tons of templates that you can use online. If you just Google resume templates, lots of things will come up. You'll just need to be careful. Some of them are a little bit difficult if they're like in PDF format and whatnot to manipulate. So I would choose something that you can put in like a Word format. Okay, so we'll move on to resume don'ts. Don't include your photo. Don't use abbreviations. People may not know what you're abbreviating. Don't use personal pronouns like I, we, etc. It's just not very professional. Don't use long, vague, or flowery wording. Be specific. Don't have any spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors. I think we already talked about that. Don't place too much emphasis on early jobs. Focus more on the recent. Don't lie or embellish information. Don't include references. It takes up real estate and it's implied that you'll provide if asked. Okay, so here's a few examples of bad resumes. So you'll see here in this one, formatting's not bad, but objective: to begin my postgraduate career in an insignificant entry-level position that will provide me with income. Not great. And if you read through the rest of it, just really not good content on this resume. And here's one that definitely is a little over the top. You do not want to include My Little Pony or any other graphics like that on your resume. Just not very professional. And then I have to say that this resume, the person was kind of industrious. They made a positive out of a negative, but they put marijuana dealer and nefarious dude on the resume. They did show some transferable skills, but probably not the best thing to do. So pictures are not recommended, as I mentioned. If you do feel that you need to include a picture for some reason, make sure that it's a professional headshot. Some of these just are not appropriate for resumes. So you're going to want to showcase your wow on your resume. So you need to think about the top things you want employers to know to prove that you're a good candidate, and major achievements or recognitions from each position that you've had. Here are some recommended resume components, and we'll go through these in more detail. But first is the qualification summary / profile, which I think is one of the most important things on the resume. Accomplishment statements, career history and professional experience, computer technical and special skills, if that applies to you, honors awards, military history, professional organizations, all things you can include if you'd like to and it applies, and then education. So we'll start out talking about the qualification summary and profile. As I said, to me, this is a very important part of the resume. It sets the tone and advance organizes for the reader the information on your resume. In the past, people used to put objectives at the top of their resume, and this is much more effective in my opinion. You should include keywords and core skills to show your credentials, and you want it to be kind of a snapshot of your career. So you'll see here an example, and we'll just pause for a minute and let you read that. And also in this section, you can also list some of the soft and hard skills that you have that may apply to the field that you're looking in. Okay, Jasmine, you can go ahead and go to the next. Okay, so STAR accomplishment statements. Clearly stating your accomplishments is going to be critical in your resume. Employers want to know what you have done and what you can do for their organization. So the method of doing that is called the STAR method. So you list the situation or task, the action you took, and the result. And we'll look at some examples. So what you'll do, as I said, we'll go through some examples, but once you do this exercise, then you'll put it all together into a succinct statement or statements. And as part of this, you're going to want to use action words. So this is just a sample list of action words. Again, this is something that you can easily just Google and come up with lots of different options. So I just Google action words for resumes. So here's an example. So if you'll remember, the ST is situation or task. So in this scenario, customer service was keeping a record of calls on individual computers. Customers were becoming irritated because if they called back and got a different rep, they would have to repeat information on their situation. The A is the action that you took. So researched and collected information on computerized CRM systems where everyone in the department could access customer call information. Developed a proposal with the ROI of this change and presented it to leadership. And then the result, a centralized CRM system was purchased and implemented. It decreased time to resolve customer issues by 10% and customer satisfaction by 25%. So when you put all this together, the accomplishment statement is proposed and implemented new computerized CRM system that resulted in decreasing time needed to resolve customer issues by 10% and customer satisfaction by 25%. And I realize that, we don't always have those metrics to include. When you have them, it's great to include them. When you don't, if you can share the result in some other way, then that's fine. And we'll go through another example. So this would be an example for somebody in a manufacturing facility. So the situation or task, at previous employer, we were experiencing some quality and waste problems on the production line. The action, researched and collected information on what was happening and learned that by adding a guard on the machine, we could cut waste considerably. The result, my suggested process change was implemented and we reduced waste by 50%. So putting all that together and, again, using those action words, proposed and implemented a new process improvement involving adding a guard on the production line, which reduced waste by 50%. Okay, so the career history, professional experience is definitely a section that you're going to want to include on your resume because this shows what you've done in your career work history. So what you're going to do is list the positions that you've held, include the name of the company, the location, city and state, dates of employment, and your title. And then underneath those, you're going to list the star statements that you have developed under each position. So with this, you don't want to just, spit out your whole job description on your resume. Again, you want to focus on what you accomplished. And also, just a side note, if you're more mature in your career, you do not have to list all of your earlier career positions. It's suggested that you go back at least 10 years, but unless it's something relevant to the job that you're applying for, probably would not go back much farther than that. And I have also seen where people have just done a section where it's earlier work experience and they list those jobs without a lot of detail or dates. Okay, so you want to keep it lean and mean, include content that packs a punch. Don't list every job duty that you've had, as I mentioned before. Eliminate filler words and phrases like responsible for, duties include, and ditch little words like a, and the. You're going to want to tailor your experience to the job advertisement. So you may have a couple of different career objectives in mind. Depending on what those are and what you're applying for, you may need to tailor your resume a little bit and incorporate some keywords and occupation-specific nouns that you see inside the posting or the ad if you're applying for one of those. Then you'll want to cleverly pepper the words identified throughout your resume. So here's an example of a job posting and kind of what you can do to kind of determine what you might customize on your resume. So you'll see here they went through and underlined some words and things like that to possibly incorporate. Again, you want to be honest. You don't want to include things that aren't a part of your experience just because they're in the ad. But anything that is that you can incorporate, it's going to be a good idea to do that. Okay, so you're also going to want to include an education and training section. And you'll want to include the highest degree completed, your major area of study, the name and location of the institution. The listing of dates is not required if you have any concern about including. And, at this point, I would not include mine because I am definitely on the tail end of my career. So I don't necessarily want everyone to know that. But it's up to you as to whether you include those or not. So this is just an example of what that may look like. If you're a recent graduate that doesn't have much relevant work experience, you may want to list your work experience first before, your education before work experience. But in most cases, you're going to list it below. Okay, so some optional sections that you can include on your resume and mix and match what applies to you: computer technical special skills, honors and awards, professional associations, community involvement, and military history. Preferred resume formats. So the most common resume format is chronological, and that is where your work experience is shown by date in reverse order, with your most recent first. So that's what you'll see most frequently. Another is a combination resume. So this uses a career summary, which includes a selection of accomplishments and then follows with a chronological work history. There's also a third type of resume called a functional resume, which I personally do not like and have heard from other HR professionals that they don't like. So I didn't include it in the presentation. All right, so you're going to want to proofread. So read your resume over several times at different times of the day. And sometimes reading it out loud, you'll catch things that you wouldn't have otherwise. So I'd recommend that as well. And then hand it off to a friend or a family member to review, because they can give you some good feedback. And if you know anyone in the HR field or that is involved with recruitment or anything, that might be a good person to review it and give you some feedback as well. Okay, just a side note, email addresses and social media. So you're going to want to have a professional email address for your job search. Something like sacollins@gmail.com. You don't want to have something like smokingHotSusie@gmail.com or partygirl411@hotmail.com. If you have one of those type of addresses, then set one up for your job search that's more professional. It's pretty easy to just go in and set up a Gmail account. I would also caution some of the older email systems like Yahoo comes to mind, maybe even like triad.rr.com. If you have one of those email addresses, it may make you appear like you're not as relevant or up on technology. So you may want to keep that in mind as well. And then you're going to want to watch your social media, because some employers do check you out on social media, probably most commonly LinkedIn, which should be professional anyway. Facebook and Instagram are probably the most common. If you're in a job search, you want to be particularly careful what you're posting. The cover letters. With cover letters, sometimes it's optional depending on how you are applying for a position. I know a lot of times if it's a position where you're applying online, there'll be an optional section where you can upload a cover letter. I think it's always a good idea to include a cover letter. If there's an opportunity to do that, I'll be honest with you and tell you, I think some HR folks think it's important and others don't. But if there's any doubt, I'd go ahead and do it. You should look at the job requirements for the position and customize your cover letter accordingly. And we're going to show you an example. So I like this format where it shows the requirements for the position and then how your experience matches up. So just an example of a cover letter type format that you could use. Okay, well, that went really fast with it being all online, but I wanted to let anyone who is viewing the presentation know that I am happy to assist if you have any questions on developing your resume. My phone number is listed here, 336-970-5220. Email address is lspeas@theresource.com. As I mentioned, we do have an office in Moxville. So if you are seeking a position, feel free to reach out to them and have a discussion. We do temporary hiring. We also do temp to permanent placement, and we do direct hire. And at the resource, we also have a HR consulting division, which is what I do. So if I can help you in any way, feel free to reach out, and thank you very much for your time and attention today.
And I would like to thank you, Leslie Speas, for presenting today. It was a lot of valuable information. Her information is provided on the screen still. I'll be posting this online for those who weren't able to participate in it so that they're able to gain this valuable knowledge as well. So thank you for tuning in to Virtual Tuesday, and we will see you next week for Shine Online, where we'll teach you how to grow your business online. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.